Hi, this is Steve with Coin Stuff I Like, and this time I'm going to show you this one, this beauty, which is a Friendly Eagle Ike from 1971, and in particular, of course, it has a Diva designated Ike variety associated with it, but I'm using this to illustrate the proof planchet that were used in some of the 71D production. I left the overhead room light on to give you an idea of the reflectiveness and reflectivity, the shininess of this coin. And if you look, even over the devices, Ike's face, Ike's head, all reflective. All reflective. Same thing on the reverse. Very reflective. Look at the eagle's wings. Very reflective. So let's talk more about this special coin and discover a little bit more about Eisenhower dollars. So yes, the Ike dollar in 1971, there's all kinds of weird stuff going on. They hadn't struck a dollar in about 35 years, a large dollar, and certainly they'd never have done copper nickel clad planchets before, and even 40% silver planchets they hadn't done before for large dollars. So there's all kinds of problems in terms of striking them up, having dies break, getting the right dies in terms of amount of relief to strike up a dollar properly, but not have just dies blowing up all over the place. So that's one of the things, but here's another one. In 1971D, the Friendly Eagle variety was the first of the 71D production. And then they followed that up with the standard Type 1 reverse, a low relief reverse in the rest of the 71D production. But the Friendly Eagle was first, and we've talked about that before in another video. I'll put that in the description of this particular video. But in 1971, at the Denver Mint, they struck a number of both Friendly Eagle business strike Ikes, as well as the standard low reverse or low relief Type 1 reverse business strike planchets or Ikes. They struck on proof planchets. Not all of them. You know, a lot of them were struck on the standard planchet intended for business strikes. But here's what the Ike group has sort of discerned and done a little sleuthing, and here's what the Ike group thinks may have happened. So one thing, just a couple of background notes. First of all, originally when they're setting up the 1971 production at the San Francisco Mint, the original intention was to have a silver proof, a silver business strike, and a clad proof, just like they eventually started doing in 1973 once they got a different die steel, a better die steel, and more durable dies that can strike up Ikes on the copper nickel proofs in proof relief. So 73, they eventually got around to silver proof, clad proof, silver business strike at San Francisco. They were going to do that in 71, But because of the problem striking up copper nickel planchets and dies breaking and so forth, they scrapped the plans. Well, the problem is that they had already started producing the clad-proof planchets in San Francisco before the plans to go into production were scrapped. So they had the proof dies or proof planchets, but then they scrapped plans to actually produce copper nickel clad proof Ike coins from the San Francisco Mint. There's also some conjecture whether the Friendly Eagle dies were going to be used in San Francisco as well for that production. That's not pertinent to this discussion, just so it's a coincidence we're talking about the FEV Friendly Eagle variety. The other thing to know is that it was also at the time not uncommon for San Francisco to ship the unused planchets or planchets that weren't quite fit for the San Francisco production. They'd ship them to Denver. And, here's some evidence that, there's a number of years where there are wrong metal business strike Ikes that were minted in Denver using 40% silver planchets. Where do they get them from? From San Francisco, because they're the only ones that are producing 40% silver planchet coins. And so this happened, and there are known wrong metal business strike Ikes from Denver, 74D, 76D, Type 2, and the 77D. So we know that San Francisco shipped planchets to Denver that they weren't going to use. So it's quite possible that they were planning on doing the copper nickel clad proof in San Francisco. They started up the preparation of the proof planchets. They scrapped plans and then sent them to Denver. I want to also cover annealing. Annealing is a heat treatment where they're heating the planchets so they can strike them up properly. And there's a difference in the way planchets were annealed in Denver and Philadelphia versus San Francisco. So in Denver and Philadelphia, they annealed in these bins. Think your dryer. You have a bunch of clothes in there. It's turning around. They're all tossing around, but it distributes the heat properly across all of the material in the dryer. Well, in this case, an annealing bin was doing the same thing. It's rotating with a bunch of planchets in there. And so there was a lot of planchet to planchet chatter, hits. And so in the planchets prepared at Denver and Philadelphia, there was annealing chatter. That's what you call it. Small hits. And when you have a Denver or Philadelphia business strike Ike that's not really a strong strike, you could actually see the annealing chatter, particularly around the closer to the edge, closer to the rim of the coin. But in San Francisco, they're producing the collector coins, the silver business strike, the silver proofs, and of course they're going to produce the clad proofs. Well, their annealing process was via a conveyor belt that went through the heater, and so there wasn't the chatter. You did not have the annealing chatter to the same degree in San Francisco on San Francisco planchets that you had with planchets that were produced in Denver and Philadelphia. So that's key because the proof planchets from Denver's 1971 production that were shipped from San Francisco to Denver have very little annealing chatter compared to what you see on a planchet that would have been prepared there. The last bit of thing to go over is that The proof dies in San Francisco, they were polished for production of proof coins. So you had the special planchets and you had the dies that were polished. But only the fields are polished because back then what they'd do is they would sandblast the devices. So they would sandblast the devices, polish the fields, and that's how it was. So a finished proof die would not have reflective fields both in the fields and the devices. They won't be reflective in both of those. They'd have cameo on the devices and they're going to be reflective in the fields. So when you're looking at 1971 D Ikes, whether they be FEV, Friendly Eagle variety, or the standard low relief type 1 reverse, you're looking for 4 different identification markers, so to speak. One is that you're going to see proof-like reflectivity on both the fields and the devices, sort of like what we showed in the video. On both the fields and the devices are going to be reflective. And you're going to see the proof-like reflectivity on both the obverse and reverse. So you're not dealing with a fresh die marriage where the obverse might be a brand new die and reverse might be the older die or what have you. You're eliminating that as well. Another thing that's preferable in identifying and sort of attributing these is that it's a late to very late die state. The reason is that brand new dies might be a little bit more, produce a little bit more reflective coin than a late or very late die state coin. They're not going to produce a reflective coin. And then the last is a relative lack of annealing chatter. Again, that is sort of a demonstration that it probably came from the San Francisco mint production of their planchets. So those are the 4 key elements. They are all present in this coin. I want to take a little bit closer look with a few more images. But okay, so what we have now is a little bit different camera, a little bit more macro here. And one thing you can notice, again, as I'm going into focus, look at Ike's jaw. Look at the reflectivity there. Look at the planchet. Very reflective. I'm going to try something here. I'm going to come in with the pen, and you can actually see reflectivity of the pen. All right, so you can see that that's in the devices. And right now I'm about 4 inches. 4 inches away from the coin. Another thing, let me see if I can pick this up. I'll have to use bend it a little bit, but look towards the rim, and you can see how the field bends there, sort of cutting through about halfway through the 1, the 7, 9. That's field bending, and the field bending is because of die sink. It goes pretty much all the way around. Not pretty much, it goes all the way around. And hopefully you can pick that up. I could get it best here. There it is, down here at your 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock to all the way down around to 7 o'clock, really, right now. But this goes away around the whole coin. That's die sink, is where because of the pressure used, the dies would deform over a period of time. I'm pointing that out because that eliminates the possibility of an early dye state causing the reflectivity. This is later, and this coin's produced these dyes had produced a number of coins, and I guarantee you they weren't polishing dyes in Denver in 1971 to make pretty coins. These are the reflectivity is because of the planchets that were being used, and they're coming from San Francisco. Let me flip over, and we'll look at a few things here. Again, ID mark. See the second L in dollar. See how that debris flow off of the crater on the right side of the top of the second L. It comes all the way down past the top. That's a marker. The way the tail feathers, lack of distinction between those. There is no, on the eagle's head, let me turn it this way. There's no furrowed brow here. There's no furrowed brow over the eye. And there's if you look at the Gulf of Mexico, it's rounded. There isn't a Louisiana, Mississippi sticking out into the delta or into the Gulf of Mexico to the same degree you see on the standard type 1. The islands are also more of a string of 4. There's 4 islands, a string across the top and then one below, which is different than the 3 islands you see with a standard type 1 reverse. This one here doesn't really have the reentry vehicle, the little incuse that you see in the northwest side of the Earth. It doesn't really have that. You can pick up a little bit, but it's not distinct, which is another marker telling you that it's not an early dye state. You can see a little bit of dye sink on this side as well. It's a little bit easier to show you on the obverse, but you can sort of pick it up a little bit. There's a little bit of dye sink here. And then let me see if I can pick this one up for you. Bear with me as I zoom in a little bit, and we're going to show you the variety here. Let me get this adjacent to the light here. And you look up there at NITE near the top. I'm going to try to make that die crack pop. There's a die crack that runs across the top. Now you can pick a little bit between the T and the E. You can pick up a little bit between the I and the T, right at the very top. I'll try to focus this. So it basically goes N to I to T, right at the top. I can get the light this way. Oh, there we go. You can see the die crack running E to T to I to N, right across the top. I got it illuminated now, and I'll bring this back. So this makes it a Diva designated Ike variety, but it also, again, demonstrates this is not early dye state. It's late dye state, at least. Dye sink, dye crack, lack of some of the finer details. Like I said, normally there is a incuse there at the northwest side of the North America. There's an incuse V-like feature. So again, you have I'm going to zoom back out a little bit, and what you have is a evidence here of a 71 D, Denver produced Ike that was struck on a proof planchet. Thank you for watching. It's a very interesting variety. Only got MS63. Some of these have a hard time because they're proof-like. You know, it's unforgiving as far as hits and so forth. So, and when I say hits, not the kneeling chatter, but the post-production hits when they bagged them up and sent them around. So, thank you for watching. Very interesting variety, sub-variety of Friendly Eagle, the Friendly Eagle variety, 71D Ike. See you next time. Remember, always be smart when you're buying coins, but definitely buy stuff you like. Bye-bye.